All right, looks like we have some people joining in. We'll give it just a second for everybody to log on and we'll go ahead and get started. Good to see you, Sahil, Megan, and Gabby.
Hey, Madison. Awesome to be here. Excited for everybody who's joining in. It's going to be an awesome trip um, around the Panama region. I'm so excited to see you in action.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This is something we've been working on for a while, so super pumped to finally have it come into action here. All right, so we can just go ahead and get started. I wanted to start it off with just first introducing everybody that we have here today. I'm Madison, I'm with Global Brigades. I'm super excited to be highlighting my experience in Panama throughout this webinar. And then I'm also joined by a couple other of my colleagues here. We have Gabby Jimenez, who is one of our wonderful marketing associates located in Panama City. Gabby was a huge part in making all of this happen. She's really well connected with the communities and with the office and the community health workers in Panama. So she is joining in from her home in Panama and will be there also throughout the chat to answer any questions that you might have during this presentation. We also have Megan of the famous Instagram Megan Studies. Megan is currently a med school student at Texas Tech, and she has actually been on a brigade to Honduras before. So she's here to provide a little bit of extra context with her medical background and also with her previous brigade experience. And then last but not least, we have Dr. Sahil Mehta. He is the founder of Med School Coach, who also is a partner of Global Brigades and will be joining in to give his additional medical perspective as well. So we have a pretty full evening here, so I don't want to take too much time for us to just jump right into the action. So with that being said, let's head on over to Panama and get started.
So I just got into the airport a little bit ago. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, so I flew from Richmond to Miami and then Miami to Panama. It's a pretty easy, quick trip, but I'm excited to get to be back. Got to meet up with Gabby. Normally, Gabby and I work together virtually, so it's always really fun when we can link up and get to do stuff like this together in person. So we've made it out of the city. We've been driving for a couple of hours east, so we're, almost getting to the edge of Panama, and we're about to enter into the Darién province. So this is actually where Global Brigades started. So what's cool about this area is we have communities that have several different projects in them, and when a community has all the different projects, we refer to them as an empowered or a holistic community. So in some of the communities that we're visiting, we're going to go to Las Pinas. We're also going to go to Javisa. We'll be able to see both water projects and medical projects, and then some of these communities also even have community banks and other business projects going on. So we'll be able to see a little bit of everything, all where Global Brigade started in Panama. We are out in Darién and we're getting ready to head out to check out a water project a little bit outside of where we stayed. I've been to a medical brigade before, so I've seen our clinic projects in action, but I actually haven't seen a water project in action, which I'm really excited about. So first we're going to stop by the office and then we'll be heading out to the community. So let's go. So this project specifically is called El Proyecto Vijao, and Vijao is in Embera, one of the indigenous languages here, and means water. So Global Brigade started just with health projects. Originally, we were doing clinics, we were training community health workers, and we're solely focused on health specifically. But over time, it became really clear that clinics were, of course, really beneficial in the communities, but only we're going to do so much if there still were a lot of issues with water quality and the health issues that come with poor water quality. So I'm really excited today to get to see a little bit more and kind of see some of the projects on the ground and see how things are looking.
Honestly, this river is very, very important for everyone in Darien. You can see people using boats to go to their houses in here, or they're bathing on the river, or they are drinking water from the river, or they're cooking with water from the river. So at the end of the day, this river is pretty much their lives. Like everything for them or everything that happens in their lives somehow leads to this river over here.
We're about to take our last step of the journey to the community we're going to visit. So we're about to take a boat about 30 minutes out to go to Las Pinas, and we'll check it out once we're there. So we're on the boat, we're heading out. This is the first place I've ever been to that you really could only get to by boat, which is really cool. It's really exciting to get to see a place that is so far out from the city. It is unlike really anywhere else that I've been to. The only way that you can get there is by boat. So as we were loading up, we saw a lot of other boats that were loading up with like rice and water and like other essentials that are being taken out to the community there. So we'll be on the boat for about 20 more minutes. That's about a 30-minute boat ride, and then we'll show you around a little bit more once we get there. We've made it out to Las Pinas, and obviously we came here via boat. We were on the water for about 30 minutes getting out to this community. But despite, being able to get here by water, water is a really big challenge in this community, and it's something that we want to talk a little bit more about with the community's members here. So the challenge is both getting water up from the river to these homes, and then also the quality of the water, making sure that it is, clean and potable and not causing illnesses.
Antes del proyecto de agua, nosotros pedíamos del río y siempre el agua está contaminada. Para el invierno, más aprovechamos cuando venía la lluvia, recogíamos nuestro tanque de agua y le echábamos cloro y cosas así.
La vida antes de que no tenían agua potable, la mayoría siempre sufrían con bacterias como ameba, diarrea, a veces mucho nos daba dolor de estómago.
Que hay comunidades que no tienen absolutamente nada, entonces no tenían nada, llegamos nosotros acá con Global y UNICEF y le estamos dando ese apoyo, como aquí en Nuevo Vijao, venimos a construir los 2 tanques de 30.000 metros cúbicos para tema de agua, para abastecer a la comunidad.
Fuimos desarrollando un estudio para ver cómo era la comunidad, cuántas personas tiene la comunidad y muchas otras cosas. Pero la clave del éxito de esto, y principalmente, es el acompañamiento. No lo hemos dejado solo. Adicional a esto, hay un elemento muy importante, que es la recaudación de fondos para mantener esos acueductos. Eso se llaman juntas administradoras de acueductos rurales, que le llaman JAR. Y estas JAR, nosotros le damos todo el seguimiento.
Yo como vicepresidente, la JAR, nosotros somos los indicados que tenemos que tener el mantenimiento del acueducto. para darle una mejor calidad de agua a los moradores de aquí de nuestro pueblo, pues. Y darle a la comunidad una mejora, pues una mejora de que ya no tienen que ir al río, pues hoy en día el río está demasiado contaminado. Entonces, con eso nosotros tenemos la responsabilidad de que la comunidad, los niños y los mayores y los adultos estén bien de salud, con una buena agua. Ese es el compromiso que nosotros tenemos como HAR a la comunidad y a todos los que vengan aquí a visitarnos.
Cuando empecé a trabajar aquí, tuvimos un acuerdo con la comunidad y acá el programa, ¿no? Un 50% que nos da la comunidad y el 50% lo damos nosotros. O sea, en mano de obra no calificada dentro de la comunidad, los técnicos lo damos nosotros, entonces ellos nos dan como el apoyo.
Pues necesitamos eso porque a veces no estamos capacitados en este invento y tenemos que capacitarnos también todo. Y cualquier cosa si nos necesita, nosotros estamos aquí también siempre al lado de ustedes y ustedes al lado de nosotros, que sigamos juntamente para adelante.
El proyecto del gobierno solamente llegó en tuberías madre. Entonces, gracias a Global Brigade fue que nos apoyó en eso y nos sigue ayudando en eso de llegar a las casas, porque nos donó tubería de llegar agua a las casas.
Aquí en Nuevo Vijao solo falta las conexiones desde el tanque madre hacia la comunidad. Solo falta algunos detallitos que realmente ellos quieren conectarse de la línea madre hacia la casa de ellos. Eso es el único paso que falta aquí en Nuevo Vijao.
Por este momento nosotros acá el pueblo, la comunidad, a la semana antepasada estamos reunidos, hablamos la tubería, porque la tubería es pequeña para nuestra casa. Yo quiero tenerlo en mi casa propia y tomar esa agua, pues, bien clorificada y bañarse quizás ahí mismo o tener eso en nuestro servicio para tenerlo más bien cómodo en nuestra casa, en nuestro hogar, pues.
Bueno, sí, nosotros estamos luchando por eso, pues, como ya yo estoy bajando ya la edad, entonces nosotros estamos luchando para los niñeces que venga creciendo va a administrar esta agua más tarde en el futuro, no somos nosotros ya.
Bueno, me siento principalmente complacido como ser humano y como persona, porque este es un proyecto noble. Mejorar estas condiciones de vida para ellos es algo que en realidad es indescriptible. Y los estudiantes siempre que me ven están contentos porque saben que estamos haciendo algo que redunda en beneficio a esa comunidad y que sí va a llegar, que sí les va a llegar, que sí va a ser lo que ellos esperaban.
All right, so strong start with jumping right into Panama. I really like that we, are opening up this discussion with a little bit of a focus more on some of the public health elements, the quality of water, and just kind of setting the scene for what health and healthcare and health challenges look like in this area of Panama. So I'll pass it off to Megan and Sahil. I know you've also both spent some time on brigades just to kind of see what you guys think and how that ties into things that you maybe seen in the medical world as well.
Yeah, Madison, that looked amazing. I mean, just to be into a rural community where you can only access via the riverway. I mean, that's super cool. I'm jealous of your experience there, and also just incredibly proud of everything that Global Brigades sort of has accomplished in areas like that. I mean, it's just oftentimes you think of Global Brigades because you're thinking about the students organizing, fundraising, going down on the various medical trips, and it's so great to see this other side of public health that is also something that students are involved in, but also sort of the local volunteers and the local staff is involved in, and it's just so incredibly important that the water sanitation. There was one place where you were sort of with this little baby who was swinging on a hammock, and it's like the biggest advances in healthcare are not chemotherapy, are not big surgeries, are not radiation or anything along those lines. They are very simple things like clean water that have expanded lifespans, right? I mean, diarrheal illness is what kills children, infants all day, every day for years and years and years. Now, not so much, obviously, in first world countries where we've implemented so much sanitation, but still in third world countries, Central America, Asia, all these places where we still have issues. And it's so great that you were able to see some of the cleaning in action. I mean, it's just really cool. Megan, I know you have a background in some biology as well. I'm sure you remember all the different typhoids and hepatitis and cholera and everything else.
Yeah, well, thank you, Madison, for sharing the video, and thank you, Dr. Mehta, for sharing your own thoughts about it just now too. And what you were saying about public health and how water sanitation, or just sanitation in general, and how that's the very big advancement in medicine, it makes me think back to, seeing public health majors at my school when I was in college. I personally didn't major in public health, but I felt like I knew a lot of public health majors at my school, and it was a pretty big program. And so a lot of the pre-meds, myself included, kind of had an idea of public health and public policy or health policy, just all that big conglomerate of words. And you kind of have an idea of how important it is. But it wasn't until I went to Honduras on a medical brigade this past summer that I truly wrapped my mind around it or really experienced that. So in Honduras, we did a public health project too. It wasn't a water infrastructure or water sanitation project, but it was helping with respiratory illnesses by building these stoves in the homes that help with ventilation. And so while that's not water related, I did notice a lot of similarities between Honduras and Panama in that there are still a lot of waterborne illnesses in Honduras. We didn't use the running water at the sinks where we stayed. They had filtered water for us. And so it kind of makes you think about how the community health workers, like, that's their life. Like, I'm there for a week, and they filtered the water for us. But those communities or the partner communities that we were visiting, that's their life, and they don't have access to things that we have here in the US. And so seeing that project in the video, it's very noble, like how they're saying in there. And so I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. I was gonna say, it's great too.
Madison.
I feel like, compare with what you saw in Honduras and just see, how so many things like in people's homes play such a big factor. And I liked what Sahil mentioned as well about, seeing kind of the other side of some of the things that Global Brigades does. I felt like it was such a cool, amazing privilege to be able to travel somewhere this remote. And something that I remember from while I was there that I thought just really stuck with me was while I was walking around. I mean, we've gone over many times, you could really only get there by boat. It's extremely remote. And there were several homes there that had Global Brigades stickers stuck on front of their house. And I'm like, how cool is this, that in these areas that are so remote that they know Global Brigades and can speak so comfortably, and like everybody that is there, is so local to that community and plays a really big part of it. We were there on 2 different visits, and on the second visit, when we went back, there was a whole group of people waiting for us. So many of the people that you saw in those interviews, we didn't seek out, but they saw that we were there, and they were so excited to get to connect with the Global Brigade staff and like tell us about the impact and about the things that they still need. And it was just so incredible to be able to see all of that firsthand.
Megan, you talked a little bit there about like the difference or the groups of pre-health versus public health, or maybe pre-med versus public health. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience right now who are maybe pre-med, some public health majors, a whole bunch of things. Like, one of the things that I really believe is that we've like separated this a little bit today in our academic institutions just because it's a major or there's an MPH versus MD, but in reality, it's like so combined. It's one, right? Like, health is health. And like cholera, right? Such a common illness, some tiny little bacteria causing hypovolemic shock, metabolic acidosis, like all kinds of issues that lead to just rapid death in people can be eliminated by good public health measures. So forget like a doctor. You don't need a doctor. You need literally like basic sanitation to make all the impact. And again, I think that's what's so cool about the way Global Brigades operates, and Madison, I think you talked about this when you were down there, is like, hey, there's this singular, we started as thinking this through from a clinic perspective, but quickly realized that just giving somebody a medication does not solve the problem, right? It's like the root cause analysis that solves the problem.
Yeah, 100%. Well, on that note about the clinics, I think perfect timing to go ahead and jump into part 2 here. So I know this is something that many of you, again, with pre-med backgrounds, are definitely going to be excited to see a little bit more about kind of what your experience could look like on a brigade. So let's head back to Panama and we'll be visiting a clinic next.
So we're here with a couple different universities. University of Birmingham from England, as well as Texas A&M, are both here this week checking out and helping support this rural clinic. We're out in Piedras Gordas. So our medical brigades are a week long, and they work with volunteers that are often university students or medical school students that come down to one of our partner countries to work alongside local healthcare professionals over the course of a week. So we're going to be able to see what's going on in the clinic here. Our clinics we refer to as mobile clinics because we typically set up in a school or in a community center in an area that does not have another clinic or hospital typically very close. So within the clinic, we have different stations going on. We have general consultation, pharmacy, public health, dental, and vision. So we're going to be able to see a little bit of all of that. But something really important to note is that on all of our brigades and in all of our stations, the students are working alongside local healthcare professionals. So in terms of language, cultural competency, and also sustainability of the programs, everything that the students are doing is alongside local healthcare providers.
Hi, I'm Nicole. We're currently in Panama on a Global Brigade. I'm with Texas A&M University. So today I'm going to take you along on the compound tour with everyone here. All right, so right now we are about to go into the triage station. This is intake where patients first come in. If you'll come along with us. So here first we take height, temperature, and our weight. And then we can see all of the kids practicing their blood pressure skills. It did take a while for me to learn how to take blood pressure. It's definitely a thing you have to be very detailed about, kind of hear it out. We also take pulse oximeter, which is the O2 levels, and then we take your pulse. We write it all down on a sheet, and we're monitored by some helpers, translators, to help talk with the community.
Perfect. Do you speak Spanish?
I do, we speak Spanish.
Perfect.
It definitely helps out just because, talking to the patients, communicating with them and all that, it helps.
Yeah, definitely. So I know it's been a little quieter today. How was it? I know this is day 2.
This is day 2 in this community. We're in Piedras Gordas. Yesterday it was jam-packed, but today I feel like we'll move on to the console in a little and you'll see everyone there. Okay. So it's definitely a lot more people yesterday than it was today.
Awesome. Great.
Okay, so right now we are right in front of the consult room. This is where patients wait and get seen by one of our 2 doctors here. And after that, they head over to, we have also a dental center. So it's either they come in for dental, come in for medical, depending on what they need. So right now we're right in front of the dental station. It's one of the stations that we've been rotating through. I have yet to get the opportunity to come through here, but I think tomorrow will be my chance. Right now we have a really amazing dentist. We're doing extractions, no cleanings this time. Normally in a medical brigade, we don't see dental, but today, because we're so many of us, I'm from A&M, but we have a London group, and we also have another group, and we were able to fit in the dental to help the community because they don't have that many dentists available to them, so we were able to see all these cool extractions by the dentist here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know.
Do you feel like, so have you shadowed a doctor in the US?
I have, yeah.
Okay, have you ever shadowed a dentist?
I haven't. I've mostly been focused on the doctor side, which is my
cool. Well, it's great that you got a little bit of everything.
Yes, we were so excited, and the coordinator was like, guys, we get a dental station, and it was so cool.
Yeah, you got the whole picture.
Yes,
that's
we
awesome.
do. Mm-hmm. Well, this is Charla. Here we give information about public health, dental hygiene, hand washing, germs, chronic diseases, all about that for the adults. And then we kind of talk a little bit about dental health, flossing for the children. It's important they kind of get into the habit early on. And we also have a little Lego activity we give them. that, you know, shows them the toothbrush, shows them cavities, shows them, you know, if you get a golden tooth, that type of thing, which really is interactive for them and helps them learn faster.
Yeah. That's awesome. I like the Charla station too, just because it's really interactive. Like I feel like it's a fun chance to get to practice a little Spanish for people that maybe, you know, are on a brigade and learning more about medicine, but also just to have a more personal chance to get to speak with people here, both kids and adults, and educational, but also more relaxed way. I think it's such a nice way to connect with the community members that are here while you're on a brigade.
I so agree. I've enjoyed practicing my Spanish, even though I speak, but also seeing my friends, you know, practice their Spanish too. It's nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now we're going to go ahead and enter the pharmacy, where we have an amazing pharmacist here from the country who has been able to help us hand out medications. So we separated all of the medications into a few categories, just chronic, antibiotics, pain medication, all that good stuff, to make sure we have more organization so we know where we're going whenever a prescription comes in from one of the physicians. It's easier to find them. The prescriptions will come in, and then someone from our brigade will find the medication, put it in, and then the pharmacist will dispense it and kind of explain to the patient how to use it. Sometimes, most of the common medications that we're giving out right now are antiparasitics. Due to the water situation here in Panama, it's been kind of iffy. And then pain medication, as well as chronic pain, chronic disease management.
And you said you're a farm tech.
I am a farm tech. I'm a licensed farm tech, so this is kind of my wheelhouse. I really like all the medications, and I've been doing it for about 2 years now.
Okay,
I really love it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's really great that you could translate that to what you're doing here. Has this felt really different than like a typical day at the pharmacy in Texas?
It definitely does feel different. It's funny because I do speak Spanish, but some of the medication I'm like, what is this? And then I kind of realize what it would be at home, and I'm like, oh, I got it.
Awesome. I love that even though you speak Spanish, you're still strengthening your medical skills.
It definitely helps while I'm here. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
So behind us in the pharmacy, we have data entry. Because patients don't come into the pharmacy, we're kind of just stationed here. Here we take the forms, the patient forms, the doctor signs, the pharmacist looks at, and we input all the information into online Global Brigades information that our coordinator goes ahead and presents all the informatics, all the statistics, all that good stuff. And we have really hardworking Global Brigades back here because it's type away. So we've been doing good.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know the data informatics session can take a little tedious because you're entering everything online, but for us at GB, kind of on the flip side of it, all of this data is collected from all of our communities in all of our countries. So this is how we also assess, you know, how's the impact going, which communities need more brigades, which community has, you know, a ton of waterborne illnesses and therefore needs a water project. So it's neat to see everything kind of come full circle with the fact that everything is so meticulously tracked at this.
Yeah, and yesterday we have a few computers here, but we started just doing it on phones at the end. Everyone was just typing away. So we got through it really quick, and it was honestly not a bad thing. It was honestly fun, yeah.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
All right, hey everybody, we are at the next community. So sometimes when we have a bigger group, we'll actually visit various communities in just 1 week. So right now we're at San Juan de Dios, still with the same group of students from Texas and England, and it seems like it's gonna be a really busy day. We just got here about 15 minutes ago at 8:45, and the clinic is supposed to start now at 9, and I think there were already about 200 people that were waiting, so I'm glad that we're visiting this community as well, and I think it's gonna be a busy day.
So what we do is identify which communities are we going to, with which groups are going to be assigned to these communities, and yeah, having like all the supplies on time, like medications, staff, professionals, usually like health professionals, doctors, pharmacists, and coordinators. What we try to do is first medical brigade, maybe dental brigade later, or if it's a mixed program, we try to do both at the same time. But we try to do every 3 or 6 months. When we're not bringing any groups to a community, what we try to do is to have a community health worker in that case, because when we're not given basic attention or primary attention to community members, if they have access to someone with basic knowledge of medicine, they will have some kind of access.
Sí, bueno, la brigada en realidad para la comunidad, para los habitantes y para nosotros ha sido muy importante. En primer lugar, pues porque ustedes han brindado sus servicios muy amablemente, respetuosamente, organizadamente también, y creo pues que le ha dado solución a muchos miembros de la comunidad abasteciéndolos de medicamentos, la atención como odontología, que aquí a veces se hace difícil porque ellos tienen que trasladarse de esta comunidad rural a otras comunidades para poder recibir estos servicios. Y de verdad que ha sido muy bueno.
This is a community actually, it's a tiny community, but what they do, they just tell to the other communities that we are coming, and the other people of the other communities come into this community and get help. Well, the privilege of being in the city is you have private hospitals and you have this kind of accessibilities in the hospital, but the problem is that you have to pay a lot to get attention, and they can't afford that. So it's so helpful for them that we came here and we can do that for free.
Usually in the city, there are all the specialists are there. Here, patients have to travel 2 to 3 hours to get to a specialist. It's really hard, and to get their meds.
Give them the meds that they have to do 1 week travel to make it, so it's very helpful for them.
Right now, this is a brigade that have 3 universities and 1 organization. I'm just so happy that they are 4 type of universities and groups, but they are just 1.
We were both quite big groups, so we were working in different clinics, and then when we came back to the compound, we would play volleyball together and just chat, especially about the differences between the US and the UK. That's such a common conversation that we have. And then this year it was really nice knowing we were going to get to see some of the people again, and then it made the ice breaking so much easier because everyone just started chatting so much quicker. And yeah, we've just been talking about the differences, and then teaching each other slang and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely been I feel like everyone's just fitted together really quickly.
They were so enthusiastic to learn about this, how we do these things here, how we live.
But the truth is that the mechanic with the volunteers, be with them, live with them for a couple of days is very cool because we can know each other not only in the work area, but also in the compound. We can do whatever we want, talk about anything, and it's not just work, it's making friends too.
Also, it's something that you learn in the process is how to interview the patient. That's really important. And even though we have a little of a language barrier, although we have translators, you will see how to direct an interview and get to the diagnosis quickly.
Really, it's learning how to how to communicate with people, especially when if you don't know Spanish. It's a lot of body language, and then paying attention to other people's body language, when they're uncomfortable, when they have pain, or that's something that I feel as a doctor you have to be, or a healthcare worker, you have to pick up on, because they don't always, verbalize it. But yeah, so a lot of interpersonal skills and learning how to work also with the team of other fellow students that you've never met before in some cases, just being thrown into working on your feet. Yeah.
Siento que no hay barreras de lenguaje, que sí nos pudimos entender, que nos pudimos comunicar. Somos todos humanos y de alguna manera siempre nos comunicamos, y siempre cuando es para un bien común, en este caso el servicio que ustedes brindan, que es para la salud del pueblo.
I've been trying to learn Spanish, so I'm definitely better than I was last year. It's been nice to have little chats with some of the patients and the kids. That's been really, really nice, and I'm glad that I spent the time to try and learn more Spanish. And also the doctors have been really good at translating, and the other translators as well have been really helpful.
I always say that viewing and learning the perspective of other people is always gonna help me grow in a way or another. So coming here, it will be an excellent experience either way. It will be really humbling too, I think.
I would say it's okay to be nervous, yeah. Jumping out of your comfort zone is, in my personal experience, is hard. It's not easy, but I've never grown more, or both with my skills and also intellectually, than when I'm out of my comfort zone. And I think that one thing is, if you're debating it, just do it. That's going to be the most beneficial to the community and to yourself.
This is something that it's really impactful, and you see it in a community when you're doing a brigade. If you're having doubts about what is this or if this really has an impact in community members. It definitely has a lot of impact. And you see their faces when they receive a medication in a brigade, and it's like, oh wow, they really need it. Because you understand that they don't have access to something close to their houses to have health attention, and also it's really expensive for them to buy medications. So when a group is coming to a community in Panama and they are providing access to health, they're changing a lot of families' lives in Panama.
So for that students that are afraid of just coming to Panama and help people, just don't be afraid. You are going to have an amazing experience that's going to change your life, because if you want to be a doctor or a dentist or some professional of the healthcare, I'm saying that because this changed my life too.
I think that some people coming here to try to find an answer is if the decision to study med is the right decision, and I think that the brigade could help with us and the students to make that decision, because some persons are studying it because of their parents or by pressure, and some of them wants to live the experience, and this kind of brigade could help them to make the decision and decide, okay, I want to be a doctor.
That it's just so cool, right? To be able to be down there and actually be helping to provide care. I mean, one of the things that I found really interesting when I was down in Honduras was just watching the students and their interactions with the providers is very different than what you would get in the States, both obviously from a patient perspective and a disease perspective, but really from the perspective also of like what that provider is helping the student do. I have students shadow me all the time. Not gonna lie, most of the time I ignore them because I'm really busy and I have a lot of stuff to do. Megan, you're laughing. Maybe you've had a similar experience as you shadowed physicians sort of in your pre-med life, but you have to take care of the patient. There's a million notes to do and everything else. But when you're actually on one of these brigades, one of the main functions of the physician and the dentist and the healthcare workers down there is actually to like educate the student. And so you really feel like you're a part of the healthcare process, not just this little fly on the wall. And I think that really like elevates your ability to have an awesome experience and then talk about it on interviews or write about it in your application, or even just forget your application for a second. Even just think through, is this what I want to do, right? I mean, it's really hard in the States when you shadow to like get that feeling of like, hey, like what's actually going on here? And is this what I want to commit the rest of my life to? But when you get to be in I think a more intimate setting, a setting where you're more actively participating, you could do that. And that's what's really cool about, being on some of these brigades from a medical perspective.
I think for sure it helped me solidify that this was what I wanted to do with my life. Like, so I had already gone into medical school whenever I did the brigade, but whenever I was on the flight home, and then just when my friend picks me up from the airport when I came home, and he was asking me about it, I was like, no, it was like, obviously it's not a vacation, right? It's not like you're going to a glamorous place. And I feel like some trips can be over romanticized. And so what I left with from my trip was I wanted to do more. Like I'm a measly med student right now, or at the time transitioning into med school. So I hadn't even learned anything in med school yet. And you get to do a lot of stuff as a pre-med student, but then you find yourself wanting to be able to do more, and going to medical school and getting all your certifications and residency, that long road, that's what enables you to truly, diagnose patients with diseases, extract teeth if you're interested in dentistry, things like that. Really like take charge in the healthcare environment. And so personally, whenever I was there, I actually learned how to take blood pressure with the blood pressure cuff, which isn't anything I had ever done before. And the video mentioned the different stations. So there was a medical station, and that's where you take the vitals and blood pressure. And I remember a lot of the students I was with, and myself included, we struggled a little bit because we were like, how do you say this stuff in Spanish? And I think a lot of you guys in the audience might have taken Spanish before, just like I did, but not medical Spanish. And so I have like the sentence structure knowledge, but not some of the actual words. And so being thrown into that and having to really figure it out, and then talking to the patients, these are like real patients. They're not, actors or just people to practice on. They're like real people. I feel like that really, you grow a lot from that. And in medical school now, I feel like it's really valuable, because when someone talks about medical Spanish to me, I don't blank out. I'm like, oh, I did that before. And then, we learned how to take blood pressure with a blood pressure cup here. And then also at the optometry station, I had worked for an ophthalmologist before as an MA. So some of those hard skills came back, like operating the machines to figure out the power or the prescription of something for the patient. And, being there to help the students who didn't know how to use it, that was also very fulfilling, because a lot of the students were actually younger than me. So I felt like I could help them out and give them some guidance on their MCATs or pre-med and stuff from the perspective of someone who had just graduated. And then, just shadowing doctors internationally, it definitely gives you the space to learn what you might not be able to learn from shadowing in the US. I can't say I've been ignored by doctors, but some doctors in the US are very engaging for their shadowing experiences, and that's awesome. But some doctors are not as engaging, and they'll kind of just be like, all right, follow me, we're like on our feet, we gotta go. And it's not as great of a space to really soak in the information. So that's what I got from shadowing, and it was really an awesome experience that I got to take back with me.
Yeah, I wonder how many people in the audience speak Spanish. I don't know if you could drop in the chat if you're a Spanish speaker or not, and then try to drop in the chat, I'm about to take your blood pressure, or your blood pressure is really high today.
I feel like you can use something, but medical in that language is very different. Like I could speak Vietnamese great, but I've been in a healthcare environment with Vietnamese before, and I'm like, I don't know how to say a lot of these.
Same. I speak Gujarati, and it's really hard. I've had patients who've traveled through, and I'm like, I know this. Wait a minute, I don't. Like I can say it's going to hurt.
I can ask how your day is going, or I'm sorry that your day's bad, or that you're feeling.
Absolutely. It's cool that you also get to sort of learn some of these experiences, which is great from a medical school. Again, just there's an application perspective where it's really awesome, where you can talk about it and interviews, and just based upon, hey, is this something I want to do? Like learning to take a blood pressure is a good skill to have. A lot of I'll tell you right now, that's a skill you learn in your first year of med school. You have to do it. You have to know how to do it. You have to know how to, use auscultation to hear the blood pressure. But if you can go in and like actually practice it and learn it, that's great. And the good, don't get me wrong. I think the really empowering thing, or the really grounding thing about Global Brigades, is that you're never going to be doing something you're not qualified to do. You're always going to be working with actual physicians. So this isn't medical tourism, which does have a bad rap and should have a bad rap. Like you can't just go in and start doing things. You're not qualified. You're not trained. So everything is around basically the physician or the dentist or whomever treating the patient, who is qualified, who is licensed, etc. And the other cool thing is that, or at least what I found when I was down in Honduras, I was blown away. And Madison, maybe you can comment on this, but I was blown away that, hey, I was there for a week. I think I was there with 2 different universities who were down there. And I realized that, okay, these universities are down here for this week period of time, but actually for 52 or 51 of the other 52 weeks of the year, these clinics are still running, right? Rural clinics and mobile clinics are still going. The urban clinic is still going in Honduras. I'm sure it's the same in Panama, where, actual healthcare is going on and being done all year round. as a student, you just have this like window to peek in for a week, but it's really like a sustainable solution that is being put into place.
Yeah, no, 100%. We do have, multiple urban clinics that are seeing patients 365 super affordably, or at times even low cost. And that's actually a great transition for our next part of the video, which actually is going to share a little bit more about our community health worker program. So in addition to the clinics themselves that are run by local healthcare professionals, we're also training local community health workers to be able to provide care in between those sessions. So before I get too much into that, we can just jump right into it and share a little bit more about our community health worker program.
These medical brigades are also working parallel to our community health worker program that we also saw a little bit about when we had our conversation with Jeanette recently. So our community health worker program, like we've shared, is another way that we promote the sustainability of all of this. So in addition to these mobile clinics that are coming in week by week, we're also training local people to have medical skills as community health workers. So they're able to prescribe basic medications, provide first aid, and other general triaging that can support the community if there isn't a clinic very close. Overall, we have over 550 community health workers in Panama and Honduras. And one last thing that's really neat about the community health worker program is that it's actually recently rebranded to a community health entrepreneur program. And the reason for that is that the community health workers are not only providing the medication in the community, but they're also receiving training to learn how to sell it. So this makes it economically sustainable and also has a really crucial women's empowerment component, considering just about all of our community health workers are women.
The community health program started long ago. These partner communities that are working with Global Brigades, I would try to identify some leaders inside the community to train them and make kind of like a health leader inside the community. So usually what they do is they receive a training during like 6 months, usually from 6 months to 8 months, and different topics like pediatrics, chronic illnesses, hygiene, oral hygiene, all of that. And after they finish, they become a community health worker for their community.
Mi nombre es Janet Contreras, vivo aquí en la comunidad de La Peñita y también trabajo con Global Brigade, soy agente comunitario de salud. Aquí como ACE ya la comunidad sabe del que yo vendo medicamentos, ya me dicen de que enfermera y cosas así pues. Entonces me gusta mucho de ACE, porque uno aprende bastante también de cómo tengo que yo recomendar un medicamento y yo le explico.
So when they graduate, if they have the space in their houses to be like, a small store or a small space to create the pharmacy, then we help them with our team doing, all the paperwork to open a community pharmacy.
Mi papel como agente comunitario me dedico a toma de presión, glucosa y temperatura. Junto con Ali, Elisa y Diego tenían esa opción que podíamos tener un botiquín en la comunidad. Y para buscar un medicamento más cercano aquí a Panama, es como 45 minutos al llegar allá.
Selling the medications it's been growing a lot because it's the only access to medication in that area. Usually it's nothing close to get attention or medication. This is a big improvement for the community.
Me gustaría sí que creciera un poco más mi botiquín, porque yo sé que eso me va a cambiar la vida a mí. Sí.
En el futuro, sí. Tener más medicamentos a la venta y estudiar más para tener más conocimiento para poder yo atender a las personas más bien.
I mean, part of the appeal that I was talking about before, what we were just getting into, is the fact that, the programs that you as a student contribute to going abroad are running all year long, right? And it really can't be that you just drop in and then drop out and drop into another place and drop out. You have to do all these things to really actually make an impact, all the way back to the water, the health, the dental. Madison, I believe there's even things like legal empowerment and business and microfinance. all these things are just needed to actually lift a community out of poverty, out of, just empower the community, right? I think that's the words that Global Brigades uses. And it's awesome, these community healthcare workers that are trained, you're actually like training up real people from the community to be a part of this. Like it's a very cool program to be a part of, for sure.
That was another aspect of the brigade that really drew me to the experience, because for me, I would feel really bad if I did feel kind of bad just dropping into these communities for a few days and then leaving. But knowing that these programs are sustained throughout the year, even when I'm not there, and then there are more students that get to come by and help. I love that it was a learning experience for so many students in the States, or like elsewhere around the world. And also the communities are actually benefiting from it as well, versus the alternative, which is just drop in for a week and then leave and you don't see anyone else ever again.
Yeah. And one of the cool things that going back when we were looking in the clinic, one of the healthcare workers, I think, was talking about the data entry that happens, right? And like seeing all the patients and the actual data that goes into that they collect. And the community health workers, I know, do the same thing. It's awesome to see actually all this data. One thing that I know in talking to some of the Global Brigades leadership that has actually been missing is we have a lot of data, but we actually haven't been able to utilize it or publish it or sort of, like really quantify the impact. I mean, you could see the impact, don't get me wrong, but it's hard sometimes to say, hey, we went into this community, this was the rate of dysentery in the community, and since we introduced clean water, this is now the rate. Like those are, somewhat basic research questions, but those are actually research questions that are really cool for pre-meds to get involved with and answer and try to be a part of. And I think some of the things that, and one of the really cool things that Med School Coach is doing in combination with Global Brigades is launching a program that allows students to actually go abroad, have this clinical experience, collect data, work with the community health workers, work with researchers here, and actually publish that data. So it you get this experience of actually being in the community, working clinically, but then taking back that data, learning how to do research, learning how to publish that research. Again, from a med school application perspective, that looks really good, but also even from a, think about it from the perspective of how much the community and fundraisers and donors need this information to say, hey, the money that I'm donating to this cause is actually going to really impact the lives. And so if you're out there as a pre-med student, and I know most of you guys are, or a lot of you guys are, even if you're not a pre-med student or just sort of intrigued by this, I think the Med School Coach Global Brigades Panama program is just an awesome program to potentially get involved with. We can drop a link, but I think the URL is medschoolcoach.com/Panama. Check that out, because I think it's really an amazing opportunity to do all the things that we're talking about here, and then dive even further and make a true impact within the communities for a long, long time.
Yeah, 100%. I think the data and like our monitoring and evaluation team works so hard. There is so much data that we are always taking in, and there's so much thought that goes into how we do these projects. So, deciding which communities need a water project first or a medical clinic first, it's all based on surveying that's done, like looking at, okay, this is a community that has, like Sahil mentioned, really high rates of dysentery or parasitic infections or typhoid. Then we look, okay, this is a community that is really high priority to get a water project. So we're always looking at that data, and there's also just so much of it. Like on that brigade, the clinic that we showed, I know that they saw over 550 patients just that week. So there's an immense amount of data that has so much potential to continue to shape what we do in the future, and look at the impact, and then also look at where we need to go next. So there are a lot of opportunities to get involved on that level if that's something that is speaking to you. Gabby can send the link in the chat too, and we'd be happy to answer questions too about how you can join us in Panama soon for the specific opportunity, or how you can just get involved. We have many ways to get involved. We're always happy to have you, and we'll share a little bit more about that. All right, so we have one more section to dive into. We, of course, could not take you to Panama without showing you the Panama Canal. So let's jump into that. We're going to give you just a little bit more cultural context, and then we'll be wrapping up for this evening.
All right. Hey, everybody. So while we are here, we, of course, need to see a little bit more about the canal. You can't visit Panama or visit Panama City with also learning a little bit more about the canal and how much it's impacted the culture. But something that's really cool is that where we are now is where the river Chagres attaches so to this side is the natural side. So this is the river that was naturally formed here. And then to the other side, you can see where things become more man-made and connect to the rest of the canal. So first, we're going to start exploring a little bit more on the natural side. So even though there is, a lot of construction, a lot of things that are man-made, connecting to the canal and connecting to the locks of the canal in this direction has a lot of things that are pure nature and still protected as how they originally were. So we're going to head out in a boat, and we're actually going to go visit Monkey Island, which actually is a bunch of islands where we'll be able to see a couple different monkeys and just explore a little bit more of the nature in this area. We have had such a packed trip so far, visiting our water project, getting to see the mobile clinic, and also getting to spend some time talking with our community health workers. A theme throughout all of these visits has been water. We saw the challenges that many communities in Panama face with potable water access and waterborne illnesses. We've really learned so much, and part of the Brigade experience overall is getting to jump right into the local culture. So of course, while we're here, we have to make a quick stop to the Panama Canal. Let's go.
Uno de los datos más importantes que tenemos que llevar a mención en este momento se trata de el logro que hizo el señor Gorgas, William Gorgas, el médico por parte de los americanos, el cual logró identificar que la malaria y la fiebre amarilla eran producidas por el mosquito Aedes aegypti.
Como sabrá Panamá, el éxito para la construcción de su canal fue el control de esos vectores, agentes que enfermaban a la población que estaba alrededor del desarrollo de esa actividad, como el canal de Panamá. Si nosotros trabajamos en un área selvática, tenemos que tener una barrera de protección, y esa barrera de protección la garantiza como la fumigación. Esto es clave, es éxito para evitar que nuestras personas se estén enfermando dentro de las áreas donde están desarrollando esas actividades.
En el área del canal de Panamá no solamente se utiliza para el paso de barco, también nos ayuda, le da agua a la ciudad de Panamá, y viven entre sus alrededores comunidades nativas a lo largo y ancho del río Chagres, igualmente en el área del Gatú. Y utilizan este río o estos ríos para su movilización a través de las vías que conectan lo que hoy conocemos también como el Canal de Panamá.
All right, hey everybody, so we're just about finishing up our trip. It has been an awesome experience. We really have gotten to see a little bit of everything this week. We've had a lot of fun. We, were laughing the entire time on the boat, getting to see monkeys, getting to spend time with students and staff members that I've met before. But of course, there are things about this trip that have been challenging too. It's of course really hard to see homes that don't have water access, or to be in a clinic where there are hundreds of people waiting in line for hours because there isn't, an affordable and accessible alternative available. So it's not all easy and fun, coming on a trip like this, but I think more than anything, I'm still left with a sense of hope, and I think that this work is really meaningful. So I hope that for everybody that's watching, this has been a helpful glimpse into what it looks like to work with Global Brigades. It's a little bit of everything. You're going to see things that are challenging, you'll be outside of your comfort zone, but you also have a chance to make an impact, and there's also a lot of fun that goes along with it. So I hope that this inspires some of you to get involved as a volunteer or even to start your own chapter as a leader. I know it takes time either way. I know that there's effort involved with being able to travel internationally in this way, but I think just what I want to convey is that it's so worth it. I mean, the work that Global Medical Brigades is doing matters. It has an impact on these communities, and we would love for you to be a part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back on, and we'll connect a little bit more on some next steps and how you can get involved from here.
Right, well, that was obviously a fun part. We loved getting to see the monkeys and see a little bit of that, because we do know, of course, when you are traveling to another country, so much of it is getting to take in the culture in a lot of different ways, and getting to see the canal, which of course has been such a big part of Panama's history and culture and economy, is a really fun part of that as well. Because we do hope, that while you are on the brigade, that you get, a really full picture of the place that you're visiting.
That's awesome. I can't remember a lot about the Panama Canal, but I definitely want to visit.
It's something you always learn about in school, but then so many people were like, well, you're going to the canal? And I was like, I guess, but you'll learn a lot while you're there. There's a great hour-long Morgan Freeman doc that will get you prepped while you're there. So don't
fantastic.
worry.
As long as it's Morgan Freeman narrating, I think we're all good. I guess if people have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Megan, I don't know if you had other thoughts as you went to Honduras.
Yeah, you asked earlier about whether I would go back or just kind of lingering thoughts about it. I definitely would go back. It's kind of like how I said earlier that I felt powerless as a medical student or pre-med student. So once I, become a doctor or physician and I actually have the capacity to make diagnoses and actually see patients independently, I definitely want to go back, because I feel like that's kind of my calling. I love patient education, and I feel like I really saw a gap in education when I was there. And going through all the training, that's what's going to enable me to truly make a difference whenever I go to countries on brigades.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool to be involved. It's even better to be involved as a pre-med, even better to be involved as a medical student, even better to be involved as a physician. You just kind of continue really to you continue to learn more, gain more. I mean, the experience is truly one that I think can't be replicated, in anything that you do. And it's not a supplement to anything, it's an experience in and of itself. And as we watched Madison sort of travel through Panama, and participate in a variety of these things, it's so refreshing to see an organization like Global Brigades that's really doing amazing work in communities. And I think that as you guys all out there who are listening today and our students, if any of it has even intrigued you a little bit, which I find it hard to believe that none of it has intrigued you. There's got to be something somewhere that somebody, has where you've been like, yeah, you know what, that's cool. I would like to participate in that. I would get involved, right? And it doesn't have to be travel there. It can be, but even if you get involved in your local chapters, if you try to med school coach Panama trip, I mean, any of these things, even if you just become a student group leader or a leader on campus for, let's say, the Global Medical Brigades chapter, all of these things make such an impact, both in the communities, in your application. I know I always throw back in your application, but it does look good in your application. But really for yourself, right? I mean, the change and the impact that you're going to make in your own life by going on these trips. When I was a pre-med student and a medical student, I did a lot of international work. It wasn't necessarily through Global Brigades. I just did a lot of international work. I even did this up until residency and post. And it allows you to participate in medical care in a whole new way and just broaden your horizons on what it means to even be a global citizen, right? I mean, right now we have a lot of crazy things going on in the world, a lot of really sad things going on in the world, and it's I think a lot of it's because we don't sort of take this time to become global citizens, right? To really understand what people across the canal, across the ocean, or anywhere else are sort of doing on an everyday basis. And this is humanity that we're trying to uplift. We have it really great in the States. Obviously, we know that, right? We're really privileged to be able to give back even a little bit. And as a student, it's not that you have to give back a ton, right? You're trying to fundraise. You're going on this trip for a week. You're going on this experience for a week. It's not a huge lift for you to do throughout the course of the year, to really make a tremendous impact again on the community and yourself. So I think if anybody is interested, there's a whole bunch of different ways to get in touch and sort of participate. One is obviously going on a trip, becoming a chapter leader, becoming a campus ambassador. Any of these things are possible, and you could drop chat if you're interested. But really, if you go on to medicalbrigades.org, you'll find information there. I dropped the medschoolcoach.com/Panama for that research and clinical experience, which I think is really awesome. And I think what Madison will tell you, what Megan will tell you, people who've been on these trips, been on these experiences will really tell you is that it's truly life-changing in so many ways. And Global Brigades has been doing this for 20 years, Madison, of sending pre-med students. And so many of them, just their experiences as physicians and their life as a physician is shaped by some of these experiences that they had as undergrads and med students. It's super cool. Everybody should get involved, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's incredibly formative. And I think it is something that, will stick with you. I just recently was actually working with a professor who, went to medical school, and now she is, professor at the university level, and is getting a chapter started to bring a group of students because she went on a brigade as an undergrad. And so it's so cool to get to hear those stories of people that get involved at the undergrad level, have this incredible experience, and it sticks with them, and they also want to continue to give back for years to come. So it's something that we hope that you can be involved in for the long term as well.
Well, if you guys do have more questions, keep them dropping in the chat. We'll try to answer them, even if we haven't gotten them tonight. We'll try to answer them after. Would love to hear and see all of you guys on brigades to Panama, to Honduras. I believe Greece is another country that has recently started as well. That's all about sort of the refugee population going there. And I think even Belize is a new country that's coming online, where Global Brigades is doing all kinds of incredible things there. So, the snapshot of Panama was amazing, and I definitely want to go. In fact, I think I'm going to figure out a way to get there ASAP, and maybe I'll see a lot of you guys in the audience there at some point as well.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Thank you guys for taking the time. This was such an incredible project to work on. Feel so lucky to have gotten to participate in all of this. We'll be in touch as well for all of the participants with a full recording of this. We also have the full video and some extra bonus content if it's something that you want to revisit or share with other students at your school. We'll have that available for a resource for you, and hoping to hear from many of you guys soon. Have a good rest of your night. Thanks.
Good night, everybody.